Thank you for joining us for this edition of BAYS Breaks, where we take a few minutes to talk about current events and some of the innovative work that is happening within our organization. Please remember to follow us and subscribe by clicking on the link in the description below. And I want to remind you that BAYS is a nonprofit organization that works in partnership with individuals, families, and communities to inspire change, growth, and success. And today we will be having a conversation with Nikki Daniels, the Associate Director for Champions for Children. Welcome to BAYS Breaks, Nikki.
Thank you, Alvin. Good to be here.
We're glad to have you. Nikki, I've known you for a long time. We were just talking about that a few minutes ago, and it's really always been a pleasure to work with you and see the tremendous positive impact that you have made and are making in our community. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about your background and how long you've been with Champions for Children?
Sure thing. Thank you for the kind words first, Alvin. I appreciate that. And right back at you. Yes, I've been with Champions for Children in June will be 6 years. My background is mostly working in trauma. I'm a licensed clinical social worker by training, so I've worked as a therapist for quite a bit of time, but also then realized that I could make sometimes a different kind of difference. I don't want to say bigger, but a different kind of difference by working with systems and really looking at how our systems are interacting with the families that we serve. So also got into some administrative kind of work, but almost all of it all of it until I got to Champions was really focused on trauma, domestic violence, sexual violence, military PTSD, sexual abuse of children, things like that. Very cheerful topics, right? But important and needed to work on, of course. So what drew me to Champions for Children really is that our focus is on prevention of child abuse. So we're working with families with young children and really helping them have a good start so that hopefully none of those bad things that we're talking about happen for them.
Well, that's a good segue into Champions for Children. Do you want to expound a little bit about the role that Champions plays
Sure.
and what you do?
Absolutely. We have a continuum of services really from prenatal classes. So families, when they learn that they're pregnant, things like making a childbirth plan, how to care for your newborn, how to breastfeed, things like that. Some of the classes are just a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon. Some of them, we have one that's an 8-week long, once a week kind of class. So a variety of different ways to reach out to families prenatally. Like, as soon as they find out they're pregnant, we would love to get them into services then. We then progress through really looking at, we provide breastfeeding support, which we know all the health benefits of that for baby and mom. But for us, it's really about that attachment and bonding. Because if we can give families that good attachment and bonding, give them positive parenting skills and help promote healthy development of those children, the likelihood that there will be abuse in that family is very, very small. So start with prenatal, go on to breastfeeding, and then we have a lot of different developmental play group kind of classes where it's the parent or guardian with their child with a whole group of people in a room, and it's very focused on developmental play. Looks kind of like your kind of stereotype of a mommy and me class. But any parent, because we get lots of dads who come as well, and very focused on child development, and the activities are specifically designed to promote that attachment and bonding. We also have 2 different home visiting programs that we can go into the home, work with families, again, from prenatally all the way up until that child enters 1st grade. So that can be a very long-term supportive kind of a relationship. Many families in Florida don't have kind of that grandmother that can help out or give advice, or maybe they want someone other than grandmother to give them advice. So that ongoing support can be really, really helpful. We've also got parenting classes, some that are designed for parents in the child welfare system, some that are designed for parents who just want to be the best parent they can be. And then we also have, just as a little side thing, Kids on the Block, which is a puppet show that goes into the schools, and they work with every 3rd and 4th grade class, and they do classes for them, interactive shows for them, so the puppets can talk to the children about bullying prevention and child abuse prevention. So we serve usually about 25,000 students a year with that program. So that's one of our, has a very broad reach with that one. So you can see a variety of services for families with young children is really our focus. And all of it really focused on prevention. We don't really do clinical work. We're not providing intervention once abuse has happened. Many times abuse has happened. Our role is to still focus on those positives, those strengths, those PECs that we're going to get to talk about to really help support that family.
That's amazing work. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. Thanks.
And one of the exciting things that we've talked about that you're working on is programming around positive childhood experiences. And can you tell us a little bit about the research and the evidence behind the concept of positive childhood experiences?
Absolutely. Many of us know ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, right? And I did training on that for years, and always like doom and gloom. Like, that's it. If your ACE score was 6 or more, you were going to die 20 years earlier. Like, it was all this like, oh my gosh, it's awful. And it is awful. Like, for people, I don't mean to minimize the experiences that people have had, but it's not the end. It's not like that is your destiny, that if you have so many ACEs, this is going to be your outcome. You're going to be, more likely to commit suicide or more likely to use drugs or whatever. So in 2015, Tufts University and a couple of other universities started doing research on positive childhood experiences. And they used research to identify 7 primarily that really look at these experiences someone can have as a child. And they're things you would just know, like, it's kind of like duh, of course, right? That you have positive adults in your life outside of just your family. You have two caring adults that love you. That aren't just your parents. So things like that you have positive experiences in high school, that you feel connected to your community, all kind of no-brainer positive childhood experiences. But they measured them to look at how they impact outcomes. And what they found was the more PCEs a child had, positive childhood experiences a child had as a child, it could actually outweigh the negative impacts of the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences that child may have had. It also, the research is showing that even if they didn't have ACEs, if they didn't have PCEs either, they more likely would have even more negative outcomes than if they had had the ACEs in the first place. So we're really learning, again, this research just started less than 10 years ago now. So these things take a while to get out into the community. But we're really learning the impacts of, people with more PCs are more likely to have positive mental health, more likely to honestly make more money in their career. That's been in their lifetime. That's been proven. More likely to be more successful in school, more likely to not have unhealthy behavior such as smoking and overuse of alcohol and things like that. So there's a ton of research coming out now to show the impacts of those PCEs, and also building blocks for how do we promote them in our community. It's great stuff.
It really is. It's super exciting. And so how do we promote them in the community? That leads us to PACE's connection in Hillsborough.
Mm-hmm.
And can you share a little bit about the PACE's connection in Hillsborough County?
Absolutely. So PACE's Connection is an international kind of a listserv that anyone interested in trauma can sign up for. And you get all kinds of information on positive and adverse childhood experiences. And they send emails out with, lists of studies and research and things that other people in the world are doing, which is very interesting. But then there are local chapters. So Hillsborough County formed a local chapter that we just call PACES Hillsborough. And we're really looking at how do we help our community become trauma informed. And where we've started with making sure professionals in our community are trauma informed, because we learned that in spite of people graduating with, a variety of different social service degrees, they often didn't even know about ACEs. Forget knowing about PCs. They didn't even know about the ACEs. So we really have done a lot to try to educate the community. We routinely offer training in the community several times, 4 or 5 times a year. We offer trainings about ACEs, PCEs. The Science of Hope actually is the title of the training. And we planned year, we planned a conference that we had 150 people sign up for it in less than 2 weeks, sold out. We're planning another conference this year in May, on May 17th. Thank you for the support of BAYS on that one as well. But definitely looking at being able to serve way more people than that 150. We've got a bigger space this year. So part of our role is really educating the professional community. Part of it will then move to educating the general public about the impacts and how do we build in those building blocks of hope into all that we do.
I love it. It's so exciting. And it's really fascinating to me, learning about the research and evidence around the positive childhood experiences and how we can promote that within our community and really support efforts to increase those for every child is very exciting news to me. And so we've just touched the surface on that, Nikki, and I hope that you'll come back and join us again, and we can dive deeper into all of these subjects. But
I would love to.
before we go, I'd like to do a lightning round of questions with you,
Cool.
though. So if you're ready,
I'm ready. Bring
I'm
it
going to
on.
ask you a few questions, and if you don't mind sharing your answer with us.
Sure.
The first one is, if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would that be?
That's a great question. Because so part of it is I want to look at like historical figures or, lots of different folks. But honestly, what I would settle on with that is my grandmothers, both of them on both sides, each on each side. Um, Partly just because they were my sanctuary as a kid. Like I think for many people, their grandparent is that place, that grandparent's home is where you feel totally just unconditionally loved and supported and all of that. For many, I've heard also that it helps folks get through trauma. Having that's that positive adult outside of a parent. But also just to learn like family history more than I kind of knew when I was a kid, would be really cool to be able to have that. So I would say pick two would be both of my grandparents and my grandmothers.
Absolutely. That's an awesome answer. And what advice would you give your younger self, Nikki?
There's so much I wish I told myself when I was younger. Um, I think it would have been like that you're capable. Like there were a lot of times I would have doubt about myself. And luckily for me, honestly, all the people like you and others in my life who could kind of gently push me a little, like, yep, you can do it, encourage me along. But I would give myself the advice that you can do it. Like, go ahead and try, go ahead and put yourself out there, that you're capable. Basically, you're capable of doing the work that you want to do.
And so what's your favorite thing about working in this field, Nikki?
Oh gosh. Um, So it depends on how you define field. If it's like the nonprofit world, I love, and all of it to me kind of has been the same. And I'm sure BAYS is the same too, just what I know of BAYS. It's a lot of people, a team of people working towards a common goal. That we have got all these great minds and great different ways of thinking about things and great energies to be able to move towards whatever our goal is. For you guys, serving the kids and families, having a strength-based kind of program, not falling into the punitive kind of model that sometimes our, adult and juvenile justice systems can fall into. So it's a team of people working together towards a common goal. I love being part of that. So I would say that's probably it.
Great answer. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have a few minutes to talk with you, Nikki. And we hope to have you back soon to talk more about these subjects.
Thank you, Elvin. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, this concludes this episode of BAYS Breaks, and I want to thank you for taking a break with us today and remind you that BAYS believes in the value and worth of all people and their ability to change, grow, and succeed. Please don't forget to follow us and subscribe to our channel by clicking on the link in the description below. And for more information about BAYS, you can check out our website at bayskids.org, and we'll see you next time.